Hi, I am Dr. Veronica. Thank you so much for joining me again for this incredible dialogue around developing your signature strong brand reputation. Now, I'm a firm believer that brand reputations can really serve as vehicles for promotability, for great new career opportunities, perhaps for launching in your new entrepreneurial business. Regardless of what your aim is, I believe developing a strong brand reputation is a central part of that. So we've been talking a lot about building your credibility. How do we go about doing that? What does that look like? How do we showcase our abilities and our skills? Then we went and we talked more specifically about how do we build strong collaborative partnerships and relationships that also can serve as vehicles to further our impact and further our influence. But today I want to talk about specifically your digital brand. Now, I'm a firm believer that this idea of brand is quite comprehensive. So it doesn't just include your presence and how people engage or interact with you when they have you in person. It has a lot to do with how you respond to emails. It has a lot to do with what's going on with you in the digital realm, where your social media is, where possibly you have a website, where you are responding to things that are in the social realm. So I want to talk a little bit about that particular part of your brand because your digital brand must also be a true reflection of your intentional desired brand. That means if we're not careful, we're going to end up with a different culture of a brand in the digital world. So I want you to really consider if you're translating well, if your brand in the digital realm is really properly translating who you aspire and desire to be known as and what you desire to contribute and to do. So as I was thinking about this, I wanted to give you a couple more words that I believe really create for us an understanding of a digital brand. It kind of is this idea of a sentiment people hold about us. It's a collection of perceptions people hold about us. And you and I have a lot to do with those particular perceptions. I know sometimes we like to believe that we can't control what people think about us, but there's a part of us that are responsible for making sure our interactions and our engagements are as we intend them to be. Are we moving with intentionality? Are we behaving with that intentionality? Are we aligning our actions and decision making and choices to that intentionality? If we are, then more likely you and I are going to be translating an authentic brand to our digital platform. So as I thought about this today, I wanted to tell you I not only believe it's a great place to assess or monitor if your brand is translating correctly, but I think it's a tremendous opportunity to create exposure, right? So if you're looking to figure out how do I get in front of more people, how do I expand my influence, how do I become more impactful? Well, social media can be a part of that. So exposure is big. The other thing it allows us to do is it allows you and I to get really good at showcasing our unique expertise, our credibility, our skills, our talents, our abilities, our unique gift sets. So social media allows us to put forth our best effort, our best foot. And then I think finally what it allows us to do is be engaging so that we can not only be engaging, but we can be perceived as valuable. So we can find our tribe, we can speak directly to our audience, we can find new markets for what you and I offer. So if you're interested in exposure and increasing your visibility, if you're interested in becoming more credible and showcasing your expertise, if you're interested in becoming more responsive and engaging to your unique tribe, you are at the right place. Because we're talking about your digital brand reputation, and whether or not it is a true reflection of your desired brand reputation. Now, one of the things I had you think about in one of our last segments on the Listening Lounge was really beginning to think about how you would envision your brand. What comes to mind when you think of your brand? What images come to mind? What phrases come to mind? Because you have to begin kind of crafting your unique image, and that can include verbiage of who you aspire to be known as and what you aspire to do, right? So it's who you are and why you are. That's what you're answering with your brand. who I am and why I am. And in so doing, you will have images, phrases, thoughts that come to mind, which you can begin to create intention around, and making sure that every interaction, every engagement, that is the perception you are leaving with people, right? So your digital brand is a unique part of that. And now that you've taken a little bit of time, hopefully you've done that and really thought about, Veronica, I've done the work. I know how I want to be seen, and I know what I want to contribute and where my value proposition lies, right? So now I want you to consider that when people come to find us, sometimes long before they meet you, their first impression of you is through social media. Consider that, right? Long before you go on an interview nowadays, people go and they look at your social presence. They want to know what you're about. They can tell by looking at your Instagram, your Facebook, what your character might or might not be like. They can determine what your values are. They can learn a lot about your preferences. So we want to be really intentional as we walk through these various digital platforms to ensure not only are they authentically displaying us, but they are aligned, right? So we're not one thing on Facebook, something different on Instagram, something different on Pinterest. We want to make sure not only are we authentic, we want to make sure we are aligned, that we are showcasing ourselves as one being, as one person, one credible individual, okay? So I want you to consider that, because that's a lot to leave to chance. And I've interviewed a lot of people, and I know what organizations are looking for. And I know that long before they see you presently, right? Long before they see you in an interview on Zoom or in person, they have scouted out your social media because they're interested in what they can learn about you before they even see you, right? So now that you know that, I want you to think about, yeah, maybe I need to go look at it and see what happens if I Google myself, right? So part of our understanding today is not just why digital matters, not just that it should be a reflection of your authentic brand, not just that are you assessing yourself, for the true translation of your most authentic brand, but let's talk about how we actually do that. So the listening lounge today is really around how can you assess or audit or monitor your brand. So once you know what you want to be known for, how you want to be known, what you want to be called on for, how you're going to position your unique stand or your value proposition, now that you know that, I want you to take a really good look at your digital persona, your digital presence, right? So here's the things I want you to consider as we think about how we can assess or audit ourselves to determine if we have authentically translated ourselves in the digital space. So I want you to just go on Google, and I want you to put your name in, and I want you to hit enter, and I want you to see what comes up about you. See if there's anything that comes up about you. Sometimes when we're working to build a business, it's important that we create our own SEO, our search engine optimization, so we're using keywords and phrases that are associated with who we are and what we offer. But it's really good to Google yourself to see whether or not somebody else's identity is infringing on yours, or check to see, what's out there about you. Man, you have got to know. You can't monitor, or rather you can't manage what you don't monitor. Okay, so the first thing I want you to consider as you Google yourself, and then I want you, to kind of look at your social media feeds, look at your pages, look at the content you've been posting. Look at this maybe over the last 6 months, right? 6 months to a year. Just look at, the pictures you've posted, the responses you've made, the content you've posted, and I want you to look across all of them. If you got Pinterest, Facebook, if you've got Instagram, I want you to look across all of them. If you put stuff on YouTube, I want you to consider every platform. Once you Google yourself, I want you to look at every one of your social media feeds. And here's what I want you to ask yourself, okay? Now, what do you think about what you see? What's your first interpretation, like off the cuff, without overthinking it, without, kind of subjectively looking at it? Like, I want you just to consider thinking about, if you didn't know you, what would you think about you? If you didn't know you, what would you think about you? I'm gonna give you a couple of minutes, because I want you to do that while we're here. This is an important part of the listening lounge. Some of this is not just about listening, it's about doing the work. It's about call to action. It's about a place where you and I can workshop together and we can move ourselves forward towards self-actualization, really untapping that potential and moving into incredible possibility. Secondly, are you impressed with what you see? If you're not impressed, chances are the people you want to impress are not going to be impressed. Are you impressed with what you see? Is what you see positive? Is what you see relevant? And that's an important word. Relevance is critical, which means you and I, even in our brand reputation, must be evolving. We must be improving. That's why having a growth mindset is critically important, because we have to be improving, which is constantly emerging with a better, stronger version of ourselves. All right? So, is it positive? Is it relevant? Is it professional, what you see? And all I want you to do is take some notes, right? I'm asking you some questions. I want you to be really, really honest, because nobody else is looking at you but you. Nobody else is asking you the questions except me to you, and nobody sees your notes but you, right? Are you impressed with what you see? What do you think about what you see? Is it positive? Is it relevant? Now here's the kicker. Would you hire you? Based on what you see on your Facebook feeds, your Instagram, your Pinterest, like, would you hire you? Would you hire you? Really important question, right? Because what you're looking for is somebody to see value there, somebody to see what you have to offer there, somebody to see, a person that is, engaging and professional and expertise and credibility, like enhanced in their persona, in their visual brand persona, right? So would you hire you? Now, I would like to just kind of go down the line and ask you a few more questions, but I want you to consider this, that your digital brand could be impacting your goals and aspirations, right? Some people say to me, Veronica, I have no idea why I just can't generate any clients, or why I don't appear to be having any breakthrough in my business. Like, you would be surprised how much of your digital persona, your digital brand, is robbing you of opportunities and potential clients. It's really important that those things align. That you are authentically you, whether you're in person or whether you're in your online presence, right? So that's really important. So just consider the implication that if we're not walking in our kind of desired brand, both in live and living color, but also in digital color, we could be robbing ourselves of tremendous opportunities and promotability. Okay, so I want you to consider this. Does your online content and interactions reflect your brand? Now that you know your brand, is there some congruence? Does your content and your interactions reflect your desired brand? If not, you already know you have some work to do, right? You've got work to do to create alignment. You've got work to do to hold yourself accountable, to be the same person you are in person, to be that same person digitally, right? Are your profiles consistent across your platforms? Are your profiles consistent? Are you saying the same thing about you? If I read your bio on Facebook, would I see a similar bio on Instagram? Is there consistency in your profiles? Very, very important. Are they professional? Very important. Okay. Are you participating in discussions around your unique passions or interests, around your goals, around your aspirations, relative to your unique skills or abilities? Are you participating? Are you engaged in critical conversations? Are you letting it be known where your interests lie? I'm a firm believer that we are supposed to be participating and contributing to the world around us based on our unique gifts, our talents, and our abilities. We got to look at where we are chosen to play and how we were gifted to show up, and where we have valuable contributions to the world in meaningful ways. Okay, so are your profiles consistent? Okay, that's important too. Are you actively participating? That's important too. But what I want you to consider that I kind of thought about is how critical your character is. If you could maybe interpret your character from the images, the words, the verbiage, the content, what would it say about your character? What would it say about your character? And is that in keeping with how you desire to be seen, how you desire to be known? If it is, great. If it's not, you know what? You got some work to do. All right? So lastly, let's kind of wrap it up by chatting about how you and I can improve our online presence, our digital presence, right? So the first thing I want you to consider is I want you to identify all your brand inconsistencies. I want you to look for the places where you are inconsistent. And I want you to create consistency across all of your platforms because that's important. What does that tell people? It tells people you're reliable. It tells people you're dependable. It tells people you mean what you say. It tells people you are authentic. It tells people that you're whole. Okay, that's critically important. So I want you to identify any places where your brand is inconsistent, and I want you to correct those, right? So we're working on a digital development plan so that we can create beautiful translation of our desired brand into the digital reflection, all right? Second thing you're gonna do is I would like for you to consider, using a profile picture and a bio that really reflects your brand. So I want you to look at your picture, look at your brand, your bio rather, and see if those complement who you aspire to be now. Because sometimes we have outdated profiles, our pictures aren't kind of up to snuff, and what that means is we haven't taken the time to make sure that digital persona reflects who we actually are, who we long to be seen and known as. So that's critically important. So I want you to take a minute, I want you to find your best picture, rewrite your bio, condense it, summarize it, create a true value proposition that can be seen and heard, right? And next I want you to update any of your digital content. I want you to make it relevant. I want you to make sure that what you're doing and what you're putting out there is relevant content. Think about your audience, think about the people who you want to reach, who you ultimately want to inspire or want to impact. Okay. And then finally, what I want you to do is just update your profiles. Make sure that your profiles are your greatest reflection, that they're mirror images of who you are, why you are, so that people can learn a lot about you. So it's really simple. How are you going to correct it? You're looking for any brand inconsistencies. You're trying to make sure your pictures and your bios are up to date. You're going to update digital content or make it your business to put out one weekly piece of content that's in your unique realm of influence, right? Your unique credibility and expertise. I want you to put something there. And then I want you to update your existing profiles and make sure that they are in line with your desired brand reputation. Now, this is a simple exercise, but this is just the start of how you're going to clean up your digital brand. So I want you to work toward this. I would love to know what you're learning about yourself. I'd love for you to shoot me a message and say, hey, Dr. B, I learned this about my brand. I didn't even know this was out there. I was able to correct this and correct that, and I'm living with far more intention and authenticity in my brand reputation. So this has been Dr. B. Thank you so much for joining me for the Listening Lounge as we continue this vital conversation about developing a strong brand reputation. Thanks for joining.